Good morning out there. My name is Ellen Sauerbray. I'm a past national chairman of ALEC.
Ladies and gentlemen, ALEC is most honored.
And the ALEC, its network.
All my fellow ALEC colleagues.
The American Legislative Exchange Council in 2010 introduced about 826 bills.
Welcome to the American Legislative Exchange Council. I was for ALEC before it was cool.
Deeply rooted within the political process is the American Legislative Exchange Council, or ALEC. However, most of us have never heard of this organization.
ALEC is a 501c3 nonprofit. They also have a C4 advocacy arm, and they are known basically as a corporate bill mill.
Since 1973, ALEC has been drafting model legislation for us and distributing it across the states to influence policy on a national level.
They start from the grassroots and they start on the state level as opposed to starting nationally. And they've been tremendously effective in shaping the dialogue and the agenda for many state legislatures across the country.
ALEC consists of two groups, corporate members and state legislators. Through ALEC, they work side by side to craft model legislation. This model legislation is then shipped out to the states.
We believe this process is endangering our First Amendment rights.
The Constitution states that Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances.
The First Amendment guarantees us the right to influence the actions of the government as constituents. However, with money, corporate interests, and model legislation cluttering our state governments, there seems to be no more room for our voices.
Well, ALEC meetings are notoriously closed door. So only if you are, a major funder or someone that one of these major, corporate funders are trying to influence, are you even allowed to come and be a part of the conversation?
So the concern there is that there is a very cozy, very close relationship between corporate interests and the state legislators, and that it's often, this business is often being conducted in secret.
With nearly 1/4 of the country's state legislators and stakeholders being influenced strongly by corporations, it is inevitable that the policies ALEC favors are prioritized.
The people bankrolling ALEC are the large corporations and different right-wing factions. So I think that they're clearly the ones who are benefiting from ALEC's work.
Corporations actually write model legislation and then hand these pieces of model legislation to these politicians. And so basically it's a way for corporations to write the laws of the land.
And so that's a big deal. Having that ability to coordinate all of those things, to influence public opinion, to draft legislation, and to get a legislator to sponsor it.
Corporate backers of ALEC began capitalizing on this newfound power to direct the policy agenda in their favor.
And in 2011, it was like a pipe had burst in the basement of the Capitol. We started seeing bill after bill after bill that did not look like, nobody in the state of Wisconsin was demanding union busting.
They get to go to these meetings, they get to meet with state legislators, and they get to do things like oppose wind credits.
The plastic industry is a big backer of ALEC, and lo and behold, they're promoting a bill that would go from state to state to state, preempting little localities who want to pass plastic bag bans.
By removing the public from conversations about legislation, ALEC endangers our right.
And our representatives, in theory, work for us in Washington, but at the same time, they also are working to raise money for their next re-election.
So if you've got a special interest or a lobby that is willing to spread around, $15,000 or $20,000 in a handful of districts, that can have a huge impact on what legislators do.
This puts legislators in the difficult position of choosing what to prioritize. By adding corporate money to the equation, ALEC simplifies this decision. It is a pay-to-play organization, meaning members must contribute money to participate.
And corporations can pay anywhere from $7,000 to $25,000 a year to be members. And they pay a little bit more, a few thousand more, to participate in these task forces that work on legislative issues.
On top of the entrance fees, corporations sponsor scholarship programs, which are awarded to state legislators who become members of ALEC. There are legislators in 42 of the 50 states accepting scholarship money from ALEC. Since 2006, ALEC has raised over $4 million from its corporate members to fund these programs. In return for accepting the invitation, the lawmaker is then expected to propose and push ALEC model bills in their respective state governments. However, ALEC is not alone. There are thousands of other interest groups in America influencing the government at various levels.
It mirrors in some ways the Chamber of Commerce, which is the preeminent business league at the federal level.
Then of course there would be groups that would come and just lobby us for this side or that side.
But certain characteristics of ALEC set it apart from other interest groups.
The Chamber doesn't have this model where they are inviting legislators to, draft legislation side by side with corporate interests.
One thing that makes ALEC unique is their really aggressive and extreme agenda.
What ALEC is doing is technically legal and constitutional. If citizens are unhappy with the presence of ALEC, the best way to combat it is by becoming politically active.
And it's up to all of us to be more diligent and aware of where the legislation is coming and why it's coming there. That's why I think campaign finance is such a big deal.
If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And so we too often are on the menu because we're not demanding our place at the table.
It's our First Amendment right to be heard. Let's take that right back.